Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these beautiful beach wedding earrings. These are pretty and sparkly, but also kind of casual, like the feel of a beach wedding. If you've ever been to a beach wedding, it's very elegant and beautiful, but it also has kind of a casual feel as well. Some people even tell their guests not to wear shoes. So these have a beautiful, sparkly, but also kind of casual feel. So you can also wear these if you're not going to a beach wedding or participating in a beach wedding. You can also just wear these. They make a really nice summertime earring as well. And for this project, I used Aunt Lydia's bamboo cotton thread. It's a really pretty kind of ecru off-white. To me, it kind of reminded me of the sand. So that's why I used this for these beach-inspired earrings. And then I did the edging in a blue glass bead. And these kind of, to me, look like beach glass. And for a wedding, some people have a tradition of including the bride will include something blue. So this could serve as your something blue if you are the bride. As an alternative, I have these glass beads as well that sort of have a mirrored, the bead hole has sort of like a mirrored interior. And those are very, very sparkly if you want to stick to the white wedding theme. But I'm going to do these blue glass beads. So you're going to need your your crochet thread. What I was going to say as an alternative, you could also use embroidery floss, which is a very inexpensive option, under $1 for a little skein of embroidery floss. But I'm going to use the crochet thread. You're also going to need some beads. I use 12 beads for mine, but I have 13 sitting here because I like to, when I thread my crochet thread with the beads, I like to put an extra just in case, in case I've miscounted somewhere. I like to have an extra. You're also going to need one of these French hooks. Some people call them ear wires. They come in multi-packs at the craft store. If you're allergic and you have sensitive ears, try the sterling silver or the gold-plated versions that they sell at the craft store. You also need a jump ring. Now I've used a large jump ring. They come in all different sizes, but I thought that this was a good size to kind of separate the little medallion here from the hook. You'll need a smaller size tapestry needle to weave your ends in. And then I used this is also called a tapestry needle, but this is a smaller version that you would use for if you've ever done cross stitch. It just is much thinner. The eye is a little narrower, and it allows you, before you start your project, make sure though that your needle can pass through the holes of your beads. They also make a type of needle called a beading needle, and that is much narrower. You can try that as well. I used a 2.25 millimeter B crochet hook, a pair of scissors, and as an option, you can also use these needle nose pliers. These were part of a jewelry making set, but you can also find these in the hardware section of your store. They're relatively inexpensive. And this will help you open up this jump ring at the end. Sometimes you can open these up with your hand. If you can do that, great. You don't need these, but if you have a hard time opening this jump ring, you'll definitely want something like this to help you. So let's get started. So before we begin crocheting, we're going to need to string our beads onto our crochet thread. So again, I used 12 for this earring here, but I grabbed 13 beads just to have an extra, and it's much easier to just throw an extra on there at this point. You can add one later, and I'll show you how to do that when we get to that point. But it's much easier just to put even a few extra. It's no big deal to take them off at the end. So you're just going to thread them onto your tapestry needle. And if you're having trouble, this is a very small needle. If you're having trouble threading this tiny little needle, I do have a tutorial, and I'll provide the link in this video, on how to use a needle threader, and that is a really handy tool to have if you're using these little tiny needles, and it helps a lot. Or if you're having trouble seeing everything, because it is very small. So once you get all the beads threaded on, you're just going to push them back, and just not too far, but just out of the way. And now we're ready to crochet. So you can remove your needle. And this is a very simple 2-round medallion that we're going to just make very quickly. So to begin, we're going to be working in the round, and you're going to put a slip knot on your hook. Now, if you prefer the magic ring, and I'll also provide that video tutorial, I'll provide the link to that in this tutorial. If you prefer the magic ring method, definitely feel free to do that. It's totally up to you. I am going to do the chain method to start this round, and only because it has kind of a decorative hole in the center, and that is kind of part of the design. But if you don't like that center hole, then definitely do the magic ring. That'll close up that hole. But I kind of liked it for this. It kind of has an open center, like an earring, like a hoop earring sort of. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the thread and we're going to wrap it around 2 fingers to make a loop. Now bring the thread behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook and bring up the loop, and then tighten onto your hook. And then we're going to chain 6. To make a chain, wrap the thread around your hook and bring it through the loop. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, in the chain farthest from your hook, that's also the first chain we made, we're going to join with a slip knot to make a ring. Then we'll be working all our stitches into the center. So go ahead and insert the hook into that chain farthest from the hook, and then wrap the yarn around the hook and bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. Now you can kind of open this up with your finger a little bit to kind of see that ring, okay? So now we have this tail hanging down, and what I'm going to do is hold that tail along the edge as I work to weave that in as we go along, and that'll save you a little step at the end. Next, we're going to work the first round. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to work 11 double crochets into the center of the ring. Now this chain 3 we just did counts as one of our double crochets. So we're going to have a total of 12 wheel spokes on our wheel. But we're going to work 11 double crochets. So to make a double crochet, wrap the thread around your hook, insert the hook into the center of the ring, and bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. That's 1, then 2, then 3, and I'm going to get a little bit more thread here. Just pull some out, and then what we can do is as you're working, you can just push these beads back to get them out of the way. We're not going to use them till the next round. Okay, so we just made number 3, then 4, 5, and I wanted to point out when you're using little tiny hooks and crochet thread like this, just take your time until you kind of get rolling, because it can be a little bit fiddly to work with very tiny hooks. So just take your time, enjoy the process, and I just need to back up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So 9. And I'm holding that tail along the edge here. Then 10, 11, and then we're ready to join to make our ring, okay? So then, where we began, we're going to just insert the hook into that top stitch right there. Bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. We now have round 1 complete. And you can go ahead and tighten that tail. I like to just go ahead and trim that now. Just get it out of the way so it won't get tangled up later on. Okay, so now we're going to begin the next round of our earring. This is the round that we add the beads onto, and this is very, very easy. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, and then in that very first stitch, go ahead and work a single crochet. Okay, now in the next stitch, work a single crochet, and then we're going to add our first bead. So go ahead and just slide the bead over and have it ready. Now, insert the hook into the stitch. We're not adding the bead yet. You can kind of slide it over if you need to. And then bring up a loop. Now, we have 2 loops on our hook. So before we complete the stitch, we're going to slide the bead over. And then I want you to see at the base of our stitch that we're working, there's a little teeny tiny hole. So when you're working with beads, when you make your stitch, a lot of times it can push the bead back and you don't see it. It kind of flips behind your work. So take that bead and just pop it through that hole. Bring it to the front like that. Now wrap yarn around hook and bring it through both loops. Now our bead is facing us. Okay, so we're in the next stitch, work a single crochet. The same stitch, begin your single crochet, bring up a loop. Now, when you have 2 loops on your hook, you can push that next bead over, just like that. Go ahead and pop it through the hole like that to bring it to the front. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Okay, we now have 2 beads on our round. Next stitch, work a single crochet. Now slide a bead towards you. And in the same stitch, begin your single crochet, bring up a loop. Now push the bead through that hole, just pop it through, and then finish the stitch. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Just like that. We now have 3 beads on our earring. So you're just going to keep working in this manner. So in the next stitch, work a single crochet. Then the next stitch, we'll just slide a bead right over. Get the 2 loops on your hook. Look for that hole and just pop it right through. Some of these beads, because they're glass, sometimes they vary in size and shape a little. That makes them look more beachy, I think. Okay, now wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Okay, just like that. So our earring is shaping up here. Now look for the next stitch. Work a single crochet. Slide your bead over. Begin that next stitch. Get the 2 loops on your hook. Slide your bead in. Pop it through. Yarn around hook, bring it through both loops to finish it off. Okay? And all these will kind of straighten out a little bit too as you work the round. Beads like to slide around a little bit. Okay, next stitch, single crochet, slide our bead over. In the same stitch, bring up a loop, slide the bead over, pop it through that little hole at the bottom of your stitch that you're currently working. There we go. Yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Just like that. Okay, our earring is looking pretty good. The next stitch, work your single crochet and slide the next bead over. Begin the next stitch, bring up that loop, slide the bead in, pop it through that hole at the bottom of your stitch, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through both loops. Just like that. Okay, next stitch, work a single crochet. So we're just doing this all the way around our round. pop it through just like that. I'm going to go ahead and finish adding my beads, and then I'm going to show you how to add the jump ring and the hook. So I'm going to keep continuing around to the end of my round, and then I'll show you how to finish your earring. Okay, so I just incorporated the very last bead onto the round. So then to finish up the round, you're just going to close the round with a slip stitch. So insert the hook into that last stitch, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. So our little earring is complete. Then you can cut the yarn. Now, I wanted to show you, as I mentioned earlier, if you miscounted your beads and maybe you're short a bead, before you fasten off, you can cut the yarn like we just did, and then go ahead and thread the end that you just cut with your little tapestry needle. And then here's our bead. This was our extra. Let's see. Sometimes you might have to give it a little bit of a fresh cut. There we go. It split a little. So then go ahead and just thread your tapestry needle with the end that you just cut. And then you can add some beads to that end and keep crocheting like that. You might want to cut yours a little longer if you need to do that. But we had enough beads, and we're just going to take our hook and go ahead and fasten off and tighten. Okay, now you can kind of just maybe straighten everything out. And it looks like our other little earring here. So then we've already cut the first tail, so you'll just take this tapestry needle and weave in this other end. So go ahead and thread it. You can use either needle. I like the bigger one. It just is a little quicker to thread it. Okay, flip it over to the back side, and because we push the beads forward, you can see it made like a little cup, almost a little ridge. And that'll keep everything forward. Okay, so you're just going to thread that end in. I like to go in one direction, come back in the other direction. That'll help keep that end from popping out a little bit. Okay, then you can just trim. Okay, so now we're ready to add the earring part to our little medallion, okay? So we can get everything else out of the way and grab our jump ring and our little French hook. Now, like I said before, you can pry these open with your hands if you feel like you can do that. Otherwise, just grab a tool and that'll help you just pry that open a little bit. Now, you're going to find where you'd like it to be, where you think the top is, and then just take your jump ring and just thread it right in there. Now, I would recommend not threading this into one single strand of the thread. Get it into kind of a clump. See, I have a stitch there, not just one single strand, because as you wear these, it'll pull that strand, that loop out. So try to get it into a few strands of a loop. Okay, then you're going to just put your earring on just like that, and then just go ahead and close that jump ring nice and tight. Might have to kind of pinch it together a little bit. Just get it nice and tight so there's no gap in the metal. And then your earring is complete, and you can kind of straighten it out again if you need to. Some of those beads kind of wiggle around while you're working. So our earrings are complete. So that is how you crochet the beach wedding earring. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.